So in my opinion, like, it wasn't really going to be a massive win. It was going to be one of those ones where, like, yes, if on all counts he was guilty, then it would have been considered a win because, one, they have proven that this guy is a criminal and a dangerous human being, but also...
The royal penis is clean, Your Highness.
Welcome to the Breakdown Podcast, where I talk about love, sex, and relationships from a guy's perspective, as well as a bunch of other guy shit. The man on the mic is a man who might find it hard to breathe if you've got that asthma. He is also a man whose sickness for the thickness prevents him from skinny dipping. It is none other than your tall, dark, and mildly handsome man, Sir Denver B. And I am here to talk about love, or lack thereof. Okay, can I really say that there's a lack thereof? Okay, I could say that there's some hate that's there because there's a bunch of people that are hating on one man, and I will get to that in a moment. But for the most part, it's about love. I personally believe that it should be about love, and I shouldn't let one small story dilute the essence, the amazing feeling that is love, because it is such an amazing thing. People have called it a drug, people have called it blind, and people have, made it, supposedly. But anyways, if you do want to know exactly what it's about, you should probably listen all the way till the end of the episode, at least for the most part. And should you like it, should you not like it, should you want to give a different form of feedback, or should you want to suggest a potential topic, then the links to my social media handles are always in the description below. They rarely ever change, and the DMs are always open. So you can reach out to me and I can handle whatever it is that you send me accordingly, whether it's love, whether it's hate, whether it's a different form of feedback or a potential topic. I would be more than happy to tend to them accordingly. Now, I should probably be getting to the main topic of this episode, but before I can do any of that, I want us to talk about one of the, can I call them bigger elephants in the room that's been around for most of this year, and that is the Diddy trial. It was recently concluded. I think it's just the sentencing that's left. And yes, I know it came out and I had an episode out previously and I hadn't covered it, but that was because I had recorded that episode about a day or two before it came out. Now, considering what it is that we have heard as far as the Diddy RICO case is concerned, on all 5 of the counts, I think he only got charged guilty for like 2 of them, and they weren't even the ones with the heaviest sentences. But by the looks of it, it seems like the judge might be trying to lean somewhere towards around maybe 5-ish years minimum. But all in all, like, the verdict's already been given, and can I really say that it's a bad thing? Like, I can remember when the verdict was coming out and people were finding out, how the entire thing kind of went down. I think there were a lot of people that were very quick to dash onto social media and talk about how, this is a major loss, this is a major L for victims of abuse, or if you've been a victim of abuse, then this is one of those instances where you feel like you may not be heard, or I feel so sorry for the victims of Diddy, and so on and so forth, of which, okay, on the victims part I can understand, but on the level of like, this is an L for the victims of abuse, I don't know. I'm not saying that I'm not for them and I don't understand what exactly Diddy was doing to, like Cassie and apparently 50 Cent's baby mama and a bunch of other people. It's just that I don't think that was the main premise of it. I think what the government was trying to prove, or at least the prosecution was trying to prove, was that the guy has an enterprise that he utilizes for criminal activities, and to be more specific, drug and sex trafficking. And they kind of were also throwing in the abuse there because that is kind of par for the course with the entire thing. But in my opinion, I don't feel like it was going to be a win for victims of abuse either way. Just mostly because, yes, he did do particularly bad acts and he was a particularly violent and dangerous human being. But in my very humble opinion, I don't think that this was mainly supposed to be a win for victims of abuse. Just mostly because, like, it's not like people didn't know that this guy had abused his partners. He had abused people sexually. It's not that people didn't know that. Like, this was kind of like an open secret in the hip hop world. And minus Cassie and maybe a couple of women coming forward, I think it was like maybe close to 2 years ago, if not a little over that, no one was really trying to take him to court for that. But this time they were kind of using that, but they were using it to hammer in the whole criminal enterprise, drugs and sex trafficking bit quite a lot. So in my opinion, like, it wasn't really going to be a massive win. It was gonna be one of those ones where, like, yes, if on all counts he was guilty, then it would have been considered a win because, one, they have proven that this guy is a criminal and a dangerous human being, but also that an abuser can also be put in prison even though he is powerful. Like, that's how I look at it. It was more of a piggyback on the whole, like, charges of the criminal enterprise, the whole RICO case, as opposed to a case of, just sexual abuse being the main issue here. Like, they were really hammering in the RICO, not so much, the sexual abuse. At least that's my analysis of it. And, some people have said that they probably didn't prepare their witnesses very well. They probably were hedging on Cassie's side of the story being like the thing that, like, absolutely kicks him to the curb and everything. And, that's not what worked out. But, at the end of the day, the verdict's the verdict. There's only so much that we can do. But while you might think that, like, the guy is gonna walk free after only a couple of years, it's not like his lawsuits have ended. Hell, there was another one that was filed pretty much right after, the verdict was given, which came from one of the male escorts called Clayton Howard, aka Dave, who was suing both Diddy and Cassie, and his allegation was that, he was sexually assaulted, got an STD, and there was a secret abortion. Now, don't get me wrong, like, considering that this is a man, I feel like the whole secret abortion thing is a little bit weird, because it's not like he's the one that was going to carry the pregnancy, but, maybe that's just me. Either way, let me just read the story on this real quick, because I do have, like, a quick tidbit of the story. So it says, and I quote, Clayton Howard, a male escort allegedly hired by Diddy, has filed a lawsuit against Diddy and Cassie, claiming Cassie gave him an STD, aborted their pregnancy without his knowledge, and continued unprotected sex with him. Howard alleges he was trafficked for over 5 years, starting in 2009 for commercial sex, manipulated with drugs, and forced into extreme sexual acts, resulting in physical and psychological harm. Federal prosecutors mentioned Howard in Diddy's trial, where Diddy was acquitted of racketeering and sex trafficking but convicted of transporting escorts across state lines for prostitution. Diddy remains in custody awaiting sentencing, facing up to 20 years. End quote. So, if anything, I feel like the case, or at least the cases of sexual abuse by Diddy, are going to continue. So for those of y'all that feel like, it was an L for the victims, don't worry, these lawsuits are going to continue. It's just that the chances of it being taken up by, like, the full force of the government and everything might not really be there, but the lawsuits are gonna be there. They're definitely gonna be there. I think this lawsuit, like the RICO that he went through, basically just opened a can of worms whereby a bunch of people are going to be coming up and they're going to be like, you know what, we want to file a lawsuit against Diddy because he did ABCD against us. But then again, maybe I might be wrong. Maybe I don't entirely understand legal systems, of which I definitely don't. So I might be misrepresenting a lot. But either way, I am going to leave it at that and move it on to our main topic of this episode. And if you're a guy, I'm just gonna tell you for a fact that this is gonna be a bit of a deep episode. You're definitely gonna feel it in your soul. And if you're a babe, you might actually enjoy it, because I'm about to go into, like, the heart of a man in, like, its most wholesome state, just because of how interesting this story that I'm about to share is. So while I was on Reddit not too long ago, I stumbled across this particularly interesting post where some guy claimed, and this was the title of his post, "She stopped me from cheating without even knowing it, and I'm not okay." And I'm not gonna lie, I was expecting to see, like, a full-on breakdown of a dude talking about, like, a cheating experience and shit, but what I ended up reading was probably one of the most wholesome, interesting, and quite touching for me as a guy moments, or should I say experiences, that I've had a dude speak about openly. Now I'm going to read it, then I can get into my thoughts on the entire thing. So it says, and I quote, "I've never been considered a loyal guy. I've never really considered myself a good guy. Not in the romantic sense, at least. That's the truth. Not that I'm a monster kind of unfaithful, just the kind that keeps his options open. Relationships have always been little games to me. So when I started dating this girl, I figured it'd be the same script. She's sweet, like genuinely sweet. Kind, soft, and worst of all, a romantic at heart. Emotionally present in a way that almost feels alien, which kinda threw me off. But I told myself I'm still me. I can enjoy this without getting attached. I knew breaking her heart was not a question of if, but when. That's of course until she started introducing me into her world. It started harmless enough. She kept saying, "Babe, you have to watch Your Name with me. It's so beautiful." I rolled my eyes. Anime? Really? I thought it was just cartoons and weird fight scenes, but I eventually gave in thinking I'd scroll on my phone the whole time. But I didn't. We were like 30 minutes into the anime and she's curled up on my chest tearing up. I'm sitting there stone faced pretending I'm not feeling anything. But deep down I'm shook. The visuals, the music, the story, it got to me. And when that final scene hit, I legit had to avoid eye contact for a few minutes because I was feeling teary-eyed. Then it ends and I'm like, cool, be right back. In reality, I went to the balcony and just stood there breathing like I'd survived something traumatic. Why did I care so much? Why was I emotionally invested in animated soulmates? I sat there looking at the stars thinking, what the fuck just happened to me? And it didn't stop there. No cap, I was outside in the cold like, why am I feeling things? What is this? I stood there staring into the night like I just remembered something I'd forgotten a long time ago. Then came Weathering with You, I Want to Eat Your Pancreas. Bruh, that title had me suspicious, but the emotions. Then Titanic, Vampire Diaries, and some chaotic old school Filipino soap where someone had amnesia and a secret twin. I don't even know anymore. And the more we watched, the more she opened up. Cried on me, held me, talked about love like it was this sacred thing. And weirdly, I started to feel that. Like she was slowly reaching into this part of me I never even knew existed. Then Titanic, bro. Titanic. I've seen it before, back in the good old days, but suddenly this time I'm like, wait, Jack really just died like that? And she's wiping her tears on my t-shirt whispering, I can't believe love like that existed. We're not done. She brings in Vampire Diaries. I'm watching dudes with perfect jawlines fighting over women in small town America like my life depends on it. I now have strong opinions about Elena. I know who Stefan and Damon are. I am not okay. I am not okay. And slowly, I start changing. Like, I start feeling things. I notice how she looks at me during emotional scenes like she's studying my soul. It was subtle, quiet, but effective. This woman was emotionally colonizing me with a Netflix and affection. I didn't even realize it was happening until it was too late. She just casually started pulling me into her little emotional bubble. Now here's the wild part. Today, I tried to do what the old me would have done. Tried to text someone, tried to make a move just to get back that sense of detachment, that I don't need anyone vibe. I put on my I'm not attached hoodie and tried to link up with someone on the side, just to test myself, to prove that I still had that edge, that control, but I couldn't go through with it. I kept seeing her in my head. Her laugh, her voice, her weird obsession with cartoon heartbreak. I felt sick, guilty, angry, not at her, at myself. Because how did I let her have this much power over me? How did anime and romantic crying sessions turn me into someone who, in the interest of complete honest, wants to connect with her and do right by her? Fuck this shit. Like genuinely, I felt sick, guilty, not even because she'd find out, she probably wouldn't, but because it felt wrong, which I've never really had a problem with before, seeing as how I've cheated on most if not all the girls and women I've dated. It felt like I'd be hurting me, not just her, and that's what scared me. That's what's annoying me now. Why do I suddenly want to be the man she thinks I am? I just wanted to feel like myself again. And for the first time in a long time, I realized I don't want to be that guy anymore. Not because I've magically become a better person, but because she made me want to be one. I went back home. She was asleep on the couch in my hoodie. I just sat there looking at her like, damn. This girl really nerfed my inner villain with Studio Ghibli energy and soft cuddles. And manze, I hate it. I hate that she made me feel this much. I hate that I'd probably watch The Notebook if she asked me to. But I also think I could hopelessly be in love with her. Yes, I now own a scented candle. Yes, we're starting a K-drama tonight. I am fully domesticated. Don't talk to me. I'm cooked, guys. And low-key, I think I like it. Now I'm loyal against my will. Send help or more tissues. End quote. Okay, first of all, I'm gonna be very honest because normally I never do like full on like reads for close to 6 minutes, but goodness my, this is one of those like very interesting and very nice sort of romantic stories that you don't expect to happen in real life, but they do. Like they actually do. And that is, it is such a wholesome thing to read, to be quite honest. And I even did read an update that he did a little later on where he talked about going all in and the guy loves it. And the interesting thing is the guy hadn't even banged this shorty by the time he was making this post. Like that's the wildest thing about it. But all in all, I will stick to what it is that I'd prepped for, which was this one particular post. And honestly, like, it's interesting when you hear a guy that used to be a player talk about how he is being quote unquote emotionally colonized. And usually guys don't talk about shit like this. Guys don't come out and they're like, yo, fam, like, I think I'm genuinely in love with this chick. Like, when guys do it, weirdly enough, it's like the moment it happens, not unless if dude is aware of it and talks about it, there's a very, very likely scenario that guys, just most guys in general, will kind of just retreat into that feeling. They'll retreat into how good everything is. And for some reason, they probably won't tell the homies up until they're like already deeply in it and they're like, fam, I am so in love with this shorty. And it is proof that guys actually do feel love. Like, women will talk about how, all men cheat. Guys will talk about how, men are genetically engineered, which I've never agreed with, but they'll say they're genetically engineered to cheat. All men cheat. It's a matter of when, not if. And you listen to guys like that, and then you read a post like this and you're like, you know what? I think you're just chatting a bunch of shit. Now, granted, you could also argue that it's just the honeymoon period and the guy's already in his fields. Maybe over time he won't do or feel the same way. Like, well, let's give it time and see. Now, it's not like I'll be following this guy's life or anything, but this is something that does happen to guys. And for the guys that are lucky enough to go through this, you know how great that feeling is. And you wouldn't want to jeopardize that for anything. Like, yes, there's the whole being, quote unquote, emotionally controlled by your partner. And, you can't even control yourself now. It's like, oh, I used to be a cheater, or I used to want to go and chase other babes, but now I don't. But the most interesting part about it is, even though someone offers you the option of going back to being that guy, just like this guy was talking about, you don't want it anymore. You're perfectly fine to be without it. Like, you're perfectly fine not having to worry about, so what other babe should I bang? Like, you are so into the idea of, let me just chill with shorty. Like, let me be with the woman I love. I'm good, I'm happy. Like, there's a certain sense of quiet fulfillment that kind of just sneaks in, and emotional satisfaction that just sneaks in, and you don't know it then, but you love it so much. Like, whenever you fall in love as a dude, like, that shit is amazing. Babes always talk about how they want to feel it, but I feel like they actively chase it. And for the guys that do, yes, maybe you might feel it and you'll know that you're feeling it. But for the guys that don't chase it, that switch up is mad interesting. So for the ladies that have never known what it's like for a man to be in love, this is a pretty accurate example. All right. And for the fellas that have not known what it is to be in love as a dude in the way that this guy kind of fell in love, this is what love kind of feels like. I do believe that different people have encountered love in different ways, shapes, and forms, and the experiences might be different. But this is like the soap opera version, or I'd probably even refer to it as like almost the most ideal way to kind of fall in love as a person it could be. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not calling it ideal and including the hoeing part. Like, if we can avoid the hoeing part, for the most part, for guys that would like to cheat on their babes, or guys that do cheat on their babes, or guys that enjoy cheating on their babes, if we could avoid that part, I think it would be great as well. I wouldn't want to include that one, but essentially, like, if you kind of fall into this, like, it's such an amazing feeling. And for those that have experienced it, I'm very happy for y'all. I just hope you kept it and you didn't fuck it up. But anyways, all that said, when I was looking at this post, I did actually see a lot of the comments that were from women busy trying to note down some of the things that babe did, such as, the kind of shows to watch and the kind of acts to do. And the truth of it is, it's not like, okay, I'm not saying it's completely impossible, but it's not particularly easy for you to be able to re-engineer that kind of love from a man. It's one of those ones that just mainly happens naturally. Don't get me wrong, you can still attempt to, but there's guys that may be interested in you and you do this and it can work. Like, you kind of follow the whole rule book that this guy's babe went through and it'll work. But for a lot of other guys, it just might not. For some of those guys, they may not be interested in you enough to actually get to this point. For others, they might be interested in you already, so doing a lot of this extra stuff might not really work per se because they were already there in the first place. But all in all, if you do want to try it, do it. It's a pretty interesting experience to go through for the women because it's like a group of acts together that you think can or should work, and then seeing the results. Although I feel like the babes that will be doing this will most likely be doing it to guys that don't really have that deep of a liking for them. But all in all, like, I feel like for men, like, going through the motions of this is a particularly interesting experience just because you may not have known what being in love feels like up until you hit that, and the moment you get it, it's almost like a massive ass drug and you don't want to let it go. Kind of the same way this guy behaved. And I'm sure there's a bunch of people that would like to question this and be like, oh, like maybe the guy was already in love, he just didn't know it. Oh, maybe he was really into this babe that he was willing to do blah, blah, and blah. But in my opinion, I feel like this is kind of like when you get that pet that you didn't particularly want or like, and then after a while, even people, like this also applies to people, whether it's like someone that you didn't particularly like or feel that into initially at the beginning, and then after a bit of a while, it's like they're such a great person, or you feel like they're such a great, amazing person or such a great, amazing pet, that even though they have flaws, you're like, nah, you know what, that's a small price to pay, but I really, really want this. And I've seen this with a female friend of mine who was super into dogs, right? And this is just a good example of it. She was super into dogs. She was like, yo, I'm not much of a cat person. I love my dogs. When I stay on my own and I'm perfectly like financially well off, I will get a dog because I know dogs can be pricey, but I really, really want to have a dog or dogs. Then at some point she kind of rescued a stray cat, or I think she adopted a cat and then ended up rescuing a stray one. And I kid you not, like the next time I'm seeing her, she is at the supermarket and she is busy buying animal food, okay? Now don't get me wrong, like animal food isn't a bad thing, but animal food ain't exactly cheap. Considering that, a bunch of us have grown up feeding the animal like some of the leftovers of food or like certain particular foods and shit, like going and just straight up buying animal feed it's a bit of like a big step for a lot of us, maybe just in this part of the world, but just generally. And she's like, oh no, I need to get this for my cats and this one, and I'd have used this one, but my cat has an allergy to this and this. And I'm like, hold up, wait, what? Like, I thought you were into dogs. And she's like, yeah, I still love dogs, but like my cats are like my life. Like, I absolutely love them. And just seeing that in someone kind of shows you how interesting love is, because it can make you almost want to go to war over something, and you could probably even just say over a feeling that you could even call fleeting. So if anything, like this is an amazing feeling for people to have. And I'd argue that for most of us today, we are chasing love. Even for the people that seem to be chasing sex, they're also chasing love. It's just that they probably don't know it yet, or maybe it's in a very indirect form. But all in all, like, can I even throw a conclusion to this? I don't know. It's a little bit hard to do that because, like, I'm in the fields right now and I'm trying to explain how great love is. But if I can give a conclusion, I just say, you know what? When you find love like this, keep it. Like, do the best that you can. Keep this person. Treat them well. Don't step out. Don't be like this guy when he was trying to step out. Like, granted, yes, it is a particularly good way to know for certain if you genuinely love someone. But for the most part, just avoid that shit. Just keep the great thing that you have, because it's like all of us out here, we're definitely looking for it. And if Cupid's marked you for a gift, you might as well take it with both hands and both legs and just hold on to it and nurture it and grow it and maintain what it is that you've got. Although, then again, maybe it's just me who's been in my fields this entire episode. But either way, I want your thoughts on it. The DMs are open. On IG, it is at the Breaktime_podcast. On Facebook, it is at the Breaktime Podcast. On X, it is at Bagaka the D. And on Bluesky, it is at the breaktimepod.bsky.social. Thank you so much for listening all the way till the end, and I will catch you guys on the next break.
But what I believe is that if you put a pastor and a prostitute in one room, one is likely to convert the other.